Greetings shippers, welcome back, and in honor of the multiverse and just the multiplicity of canon in general, it's time for another update video in the Marvelverse, but not the MCU. Let the cinematic universe rest, for now. We're going to be taking another look at Spideypool, but before we get started, if you haven't already, please follow on social media to stay up to date, know when we're streaming, and just come on over and chit chat about fandom. It's a good time, I swear. Now, on to our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and the merc with a mouth, Deadpool, Wade Wilson. We've talked about this pairing multiple times on this channel, so if you missed it, the links will be down below, or you can check out the Marvel playlist for all your Marvel needs. In those past videos, we discussed both the rise of Spideypool and later on some controversy it fell into due to the variety of canons, and some fans entering into fandom with knowledge of only one canon, and judging the ship as a result. That canon being the MCU, which created an age gap in certain fans' minds, that others reconciled with alternate canons, such as the comics, or had only been operating off of these other canons in the first place. Others felt that all these canons are flexible, and that Spideypool is so omnipresent at this point that new canons, facts, or other iterations are absorbed and blended into the overall fanon that is Spideypool, and that people need to look more into a pairing before making a snap judgment. Though of course snap judgments are sadly part of what the internet is about. In today's outing, we will focus on how yet another new iteration of Spider-Man has managed to impact Spideypool, this time in a positive and fun way, by creating a new twist on this pairing, that being the introduction of Peter B. Parker, or Bagel Peter, from 2018 Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was an animated Spidey film that focused on the origin of Miles Morales as Spider-Man and played with the concept of the Spider-Verse, introduced in 2014's Spider-Verse comic event. Though it does not adapt the plot elements, it remains faithful to the concept of several alternate versions of Spider-Man having to band together. One of these was Peter B. Parker, an older, middle-aged Spider-Man who is down on his luck and a bit more jaded and worn than Parker fans are used to. Though some feel that that would be his natural evolution. This food-loving, sweatpants-wearing version of Spider-Man was embraced by fans who were drawn to him for the humor he brought, but also for the vestiges of the man he had been, the heroism, the mentorship, the hope. Many wanted him to be happy and were curious as to how his story would continue, and some simply enjoyed the design and felt he put the hot in hot mess. For some, this led them right to Wade Wilson. Now, when one is already shipping a pairing, even if it is casually, or perhaps more dormant, as many shippers have multiple ships that they enjoy, but not necessarily at the same time, meaning that they may cycle through pairings, as not all shippers drop their ships once interest fades. For some, interest never fades, but rather waxes and wanes, and a ship such as Spideypool is easier to maintain/flip in and out of as it is a stable one, meaning it is one with an active fan base where works are constantly being produced. Even if it is not a breakneck pace, it is still happening, meaning that if something new is added to canon, or some new material, be it extra canon or no, enters the fray, it is easier to connect it back to something one is already shipping. As such, some fans connected Peter B. Parker with Wade Wilson for another iteration of Spideypool. There was a burst of fan art and fan comics featuring the two, as well as fics set in this reality. Some felt that Wade would love any Spidey he could get, in any form, and would be the perfect person to show Peter how wonderful he is. Plus, the two could go out for many a food date. Finally, a shared appreciation. Some prefer the aesthetic of this other Parker, right down to the dad bod, which some feel was more tastefully executed than how thick Thor was later implemented in Endgame. And many felt if anyone could appreciate a more relaxed physique, it would be Wade Wilson. Most of this fare is fluffy, with an affectionate as ever Wade, but also with a Peter who is grateful and receptive, a gentler spin on the dynamic that can often feature an exasperated or at times bordering on abrasive Peter, especially in comic canon, though that dynamic has softened, especially throughout their team-up series. Peter B. Parker has been tempered by time and hardship, and would most likely appreciate the comfort and stability a loving relationship could bring. And of course, some utilize the multiverse to postulate that somewhere out there's a universe where Spideypool are in fact together. Also, some who were aware of the Spideypool pairing in general but were squicked out because of the MCU's Tom Holland situation or because of the backlash they had seen surrounding it and hadn't dived more into it, were able to jump on board with this clearly older version. It was also a jumping on point for some who may have been aware of the ship but never seen the appeal, but were perhaps swayed by this new fan art. Or for some, it was a brand new connection, though that would have been a bit more of a leap, although it is of course one that some shippers are happy to make. When it comes to shipping, thanks to the format of comics and the many adaptations and versions, transformative fans in this medium tend to be used to having to wade through, pun intended, various potentialities to arrive at their favorite version of a ship. Although of course, as is often the case with shipping, sometimes it just happens. Your favorite version or trope or permeation just finds you. This version of Spideypool is a tiny bit like Parley in that there isn't anything canonically there, and it is built entirely upon fan extrapolation and exploring these two's universes. one can even pick the Deadpool they want, one that would be exclusive to this universe or a pre-existing one from the comics or even the film. Many simply love this ship for the concept of these two in this version together, which means it is as ever flexible. Now, there are some who like to quibble over which version of Spideypool is the best version, and whether or not shipping a certain version makes one a good or bad person or not, which many postulate is a form of fandom gatekeeping, and again, as mentioned earlier on in this video, means that one has not fully dived in to explore everything going on inside of the Spideypool fandom. As mentioned, we already discussed this in our second Spideypool update video. For most, they just enjoy that there is so much Spideypool to go around, and have made room in their heart for Peter B. Parker. Now, if one was never a Spideypool shipper, this may not sway you, especially as the characters do not interact on screen, which for some shippers is required, as not all shippers enjoy the metaphorical legwork for creating entire scenarios from scratch. Though with comics, some feel there is less from scratch, as there is always so much backstory waiting to be employed as the fan sees fit. Different strokes for different folks. However, others prefer the idea of Peter B. Parker getting his happy ending with Mary Jane, which is sweet too. There is room out there for all of the ships, no matter what anyone else tells you. Do you think Peter B. Parker would have a similar dynamic with Wade as his comic book counterpart, or do you think that exasperation would have been tempered into a fondness, or would you enjoy it either way, just more Peter B. Parker? Did you find yourself taken with him in his sweatpants? All hail the frump. Fun fact, Peter sucking his fingers while eating burgers managed to become a pretty solid and oft-times raunchy meme, because the internet has everything. This was a small ripple in Spideypool, a ship whose tail is ever growing. Did you enjoy this chapter? If so, leave a like down below, and let me know if there are any other Marvel ships we need to talk about. We're on a roll. Can't stop, won't stop. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing fandom and shipping with me. I always appreciate it. It's fun to check back in with ships and see what they've been doing. And it's also always nice to see people appreciating Wade in the way he deserves. Unless you hate him, then this must have been awful for you. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Special thanks to all my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible and voting on future vids. We have a fun Trekkie one coming soon, so live long and prosper and keep shipping, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.